to our ICP 2020 Plus virtual studio. Today I have a special guest for you. So I would like to welcome Professor Pamela Maras, the President of the International Union of Psychological Science and also the Professor of Social and Educational Psychology at the University of Greenwich. Hello, Pamela.
Hello, it's nice to see you.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you
So
for asking me.
I have prepared several questions for you for our interview. So we will
Hmm.
start with the first one. So you are the president of the IUPSIS, and the IUPSIS is
Yes,
an international organization involved in many international projects. So what is
yes.
the organization work mainly focusing on at this time of the COVID pandemic, which is all around us?
Yeah, I suppose it's important to say that, and I think it's obvious that the COVID-19 pandemic knows no boundaries. It has no boundaries. And because IUCIS, or the International Union of Psychological Science, and I'll refer to it as IUCIS from now, is the global voice, what we've been able to do is utilize our convening power to draw together information from national and regional associations so that others can learn from that. So we've actually done some work drawing together information, and that those countries where there's limited resources can gain from that. So that's one of the main things we've done, although we've done some other things which we'll probably talk about later. We've also continued to work with international bodies like the WHO, the United Nations, and the International Science Council in order to ensure that we show our commitment to the role of psychology in relation to the pandemic. But key to all of this is our absolute position that everything that we do should not be discriminating, and that should take account of the needs of all in countries both low and mid income.
So I see that your organization is quite busy in these days
Yeah.
around the item
Yes,
of the COVID pandemic. But you've
yes,
mentioned that it's all around the world and you are cooperating with all the
yeah,
institutions. But you have also,
yeah.
as an international organization, you have so many members and the
We do.
countries all around the world. So do you have some
Mhm.
feedback from these members, from these
Yeah,
countries, how they are dealing with the situation?
absolutely, we do. I mean, across our organisation, our national members and our regional and other affiliates are all rising to the challenge posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. I think they've done that in different ways, but mainly offering psychological support and advice for individuals, groups, policymakers, and in their countries and in their regions. And we've got many examples of those. And what International Union of Psychological Science has done is drawn that information together. And on our website, which we can put up in a minute, we've drawn together that information so that it's available for individuals, for organisations, for psychologists, and for policymakers. So there's been a lot of work done, and it has been quite impressive. As well as mental health, many of our members have been working with their countries or their policymakers
Mhm.
to look at the ways that they can support and advise policymakers on the way that they give messages to the public on important public health situations such as wearing face masks and things like that. So there's been a lot of work done, and I say what we've done as the global body for psychology is drawn that together. And so if you look at our website, you can find all of the work that our members have done.
Yeah.
We've also carried out a survey, a global COVID-19 survey of all our members, and we'll be publishing the findings from that shortly. And
Mhm.
certainly we'll be talking about it at ICP 2020 plus.
Okay. Thank you for mentioning the ICP. So we know
Yes,
that
yes,
the International Congress of Psychology is the flagship of IUCIS.
it
So
is.
it was postponed because originally it was used to be held in 2020, but it was postponed and is going to be held in July this year. So what does this mean also for the IUCIS?
Well, I think the first thing to say, the priority for the International Union of Psychological Science, and indeed for the Czech Moravian Society, was the welfare and safety of attendees. And indeed also the integrity of the Congress, which is our flagship Congress. So I think it just meant that we've moved it. It's a one-off. We've moved it, and it's 2020 plus. And I think that has offered opportunities, certainly for you as organisers, to come up with some very creative ways that people can engage with it. So uh, in terms of what it's meant, it's a year later, but I think that means there's benefits from that in terms of the people that speak, the currency of the information that's talked about and present the science that's presented, including about COVID-19 and the pandemic. So I think, yes, we had to change it, but I think it was the right decision and it was important decision in terms of the safety and welfare of attendees. But I think the outcome of that is going to be very, very positive.
Yeah, we all hope that the ICP 2020 Plus is going to
Mm,
be a
mm,
great success. And definitely it was
mm.
postponed, but it was also moved into a hybrid event. So we are going to provide
Yeah,
the participants with the possibilities of just attending as in person or just as online attendee. I think it's also in for the first time in the ICP history. But I know that you will have an IUPSI's presidential symposium, which is going to be sponsored by Wiley as part of the ICP 2020 Plus program.
yes,
Just can you tell us a
yeah.
little bit more about
Tell
what
you a
is
little
going
bit
to be the
about it.
topic and
Okay. Well, many of the people looking at this will know that the term open science is central at the moment in all science and certainly in psychology. So this President's Symposium, which is sponsored by Wiley Publishers, will be looking at the global implications of open science. So the International Union of Psychological Science supports open science, but what we are looking at is what that means for all countries, what that means for low and middle income countries, how we can ensure that open science is open not just to receiving but to inputting into science. And that's why our speakers will be addressing that issue. It will actually feed into our strategy on how we go forward with open science. So it will be looking at things like open access to journals and what that means for those that can't afford to pay to publish, what that means for open science in terms of the storage of a repository of science or experiments or psychology before it's actually published, so that we can ensure the integrity of the science. But fundamental to this is ensuring that we as the global voice of psychology make sure that all nations, all countries, all psychologists are able to access open science, but also to input into open science. So that will be the focus of the symposium. And we've got external speakers as well, well, non-psychologists. We've got the chief executive of the Science Council speaking at it. We've got a senior editor or senior editorial director of Wiley speaking at it. We've got people involved in the storage or repository of data or experimental data that's not been published yet. We've got people
uh-huh.
from across the globe, and that's really important for us, that we actually make sure that this is about not just us as psychologists, but all the people involved in the access to and implementation of both publishing but also data collection.
That sounds really interesting, and I'm happy that just not our motto, which is just about the openness, that it's also
I
going to
beg your
be.
pardon?
That's just the motto of the ICP is the openness, open minds, societies, and the world.
Open.
So I'm quite happy that
Yeah.
also it's just between the topics and headlights of your symposium. But I know that this is not the only activity. You will
There's a
also,
round table. Yeah,
yeah,
there's a round
correct.
table attached to it. Yes, and the point really is here. This isn't just, and this has been what I believe in terms of my presidency. It's not just about talking about it, going to a nice conference, either virtually or in person, and then going away. This is about action. So the round table will come up with some ways that we can actually support open science and the movement of open science, which we fully support in a non-discriminatory way that is accessible to all. So that round table will be taking the issues raised or developed in the symposium
Hmm.
to some action points that we will then take forward as an organisation, as
Okay.
as a union of psychology across the globe. So that will be the purpose of that.
Okay, so I see that the program, the scientific program of ICP is going to be very rich and very interesting.
Oh,
So
it's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I mean, of course, we're all excited to see those state of the art lectures from, I mean, I can't name them all, but Robert Cialdi, Lisa Diamond, Loftus, Phillips, and Zarbadu, who I know has got a message for everybody on your website, but also the Laureate Daniel Kahneman and many others. And actually, the virtual nature of this will mean that will be accessible to so many people. So, of course, I'm excited about that. I'm really excited about that. But I'm also excited about it being a hybrid congress. I'm excited that so many people will be able to participate in so many different ways. And I know the technology that the organisers have is such that that will make that quite an exciting new type of going forward. You spent 8 years in the making. This conference has spent, there's a lot of time been spent in preparing it, in getting the speakers, but the new form might, although of course nobody would wish COVID on anybody, mean that it's actually an even more exciting congress. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also looking forward to seeing people and hearing lots of new ideas. So the whole thing really is very exciting to me. I, my position is that if I can travel, I will travel. So that will be my position. But I understand and absolutely welcome people there virtually in the hybrid form. I think it will be very, very good.
yeah, we are also happy that it was changed or switched into a hybrid format because it's a lot of
Mm,
more opportunities to offer to the participants as the virtual environment we can use. So
mm,
and all the technologies, it's very
mm,
useful. So it will
mm,
be really
mm,
exciting to take part in this congress.
mm.
But if you have the possibility of some last message from the IUCI's president to our audience, what would it be?
I suppose it's that, none of us could have imagined this global health emergency. We couldn't have imagined it a year ago. We just could not have imagined it. And I think what it has shown is that there's an opportunity here for collaboration. It is a global pandemic, and psychology is a global science, and I think the International Union of Psychological Science represents that global science. So I think what for me, I'd like to say is I'm looking forward to seeing people at the Congress because I think in this fast changing world, the only way forward is cooperation and the sharing of science. So for me, that would be what I would be saying. And I think that that will allow us to continue to explore science and psychology and its impact on this fast changing world and the way that we can bring together our science and our application to serve humanity. So for me, I think that's what I would say to people. It's an opportunity now. The dreadful experience that people have had is dreadful. But now let's move forward and show what psychology can actually do. And I'm looking forward to seeing that at ICP 2020 plus.
Yeah. Thank you for this last message. It was really nice
Thank you.
to have you here today, and I hope
Thank
that
you.
we will meet you in person, hopefully
Hopefully, or
in
online.
Prague. But
Thank
definitely, it's going to be hybrid. If there is no possibility to meet in person, we will be very happy to
we will.
welcome you online, and that we are happy that you took part in a ICP
Thank you very
2020
much.
plus in
Thank you.
July.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care, and hope
Bye.
to see you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.